You just yawned. Maybe you did not notice. Maybe you are not even tired. But somewhere in the last few seconds, your jaw dropped, your lungs filled, your eyes watered, and then it was over. And you have no idea why. Neither do scientists. Not really. And that is the strange part. Yawning is one of the most universal things a human being does. You did it before you were born. You will do it until the day you die. Every vertebrate on the planet does some version of it. Fish yawn. Snakes yawn. Your dog yawns. Fetuses in the womb have been captured on ultrasound yawning as early as 11 weeks after conception. This behavior is so ancient, so deeply embedded in the blueprint of animal life, that it predates the existence of your entire species by hundreds of millions of years. And yet no one can fully agree on what it does. That mystery is the thing scientists keep running into. Every time a new theory about yawning emerges, the evidence tears it apart. Every confident explanation has a hole in it. And the closer researchers look, the stranger yawning becomes. Start with the theory you probably believe right now. You yawn when you are tired or bored because your body needs more oxygen. You have heard this. It sounds right. Your breathing slows, carbon dioxide builds up in your blood, and your body forces a massive inhale to correct the imbalance. Except that theory is almost certainly wrong. Robert Provine, a neuroscientist at the University of Maryland who spent decades studying yawning, ran the experiment that killed this idea back in 1987. He had subjects breathe air with elevated levels of carbon dioxide, expecting them to yawn more. They did not. He then had subjects breathe pure oxygen, expecting them to yawn less. That did not work either. The gas composition of the air made no measurable difference to how often people yawned. The oxygen theory, which felt so intuitive, collapsed under the simplest possible test. So then why do you yawn when you are tired? The current leading answer is stranger than you might expect. Andrew Gallup, a researcher at SUNY Polytechnic Institute, has spent years building the case for a thermal regulation theory. The idea is this. Your brain is a heat-generating machine. It burns more energy than almost any other organ, and when it overheats even slightly, its performance degrades. Yawning, Gallup argues, is a cooling mechanism. The wide jaw stretch increases blood flow to the skull. The deep inhale of cooler air passes over the tissues of the mouth and sinuses. Together, these actions function like a brief but powerful ventilation event for your brain. The evidence is surprisingly strong. In one study, Gallup found that people yawn significantly less in cold environments and significantly more when ambient temperatures are warm but not hot. The interesting wrinkle is this. When the outside air is hotter than your body temperature, yawning actually stops, because inhaling that air would heat your brain rather than cool it. Your body knows this without you telling it anything. He also found that holding a cold pack against your forehead dramatically reduced contagious yawning in subjects. Cooling the brain from the outside made the internal cooling mechanism less necessary. These are not coincidences. They suggest something precise and functional happening beneath the surface of that seemingly lazy jaw stretch. But here is where it gets even stranger. Because the most fascinating thing about yawning is not the yawn itself. It is that yawning is contagious. Not just contagious the way a cough is contagious. Contagious in a way that suggests something deeply social is happening in your brain. You can catch a yawn by seeing one. You can catch one by hearing one. You can catch one by reading the word yawn. You may have already caught one from this video, and the contagion does not stop with humans. Research published in the journal Biology Letters showed that chimpanzees yawn contagiously in response to humans yawning. A later study found the same in domestic dogs. Your dog, watching you yawn from across the room, feels a pull to yawn back at you. Why would a cooling mechanism be contagious? This is the question that pushed researchers toward a different layer of explanation entirely. Stephen Platek, a researcher who has studied contagious yawning and its connection to social cognition, found that susceptibility to contagious yawning correlates with scores on tests measuring empathy and theory of mind. People who struggle to model the mental states of others, including some individuals on the autism spectrum, yawn contagiously at much lower rates. The ability to catch a yawn appears to be entangled with the ability to feel what another person feels. Think about that for a moment. A reflex so ancient it predates mammals appears to have been repurposed, over millions of years of evolution, into a form of social synchrony. Your nervous system sees another nervous system signaling something, and it mirrors the signal. Not to be polite, not consciously, but because the same neural wiring that allows you to feel empathy also makes you susceptible to the emotional contagion of a yawn. There is a theory that in early group-living animals, contagious yawning served as a synchronization signal. One animal signals fatigue or readiness for rest, and the group's nervous systems align. Everyone shifts state together. Everyone rests or rises together. This kind of synchrony is not trivial in a world full of predators. A group that wakes and sleeps on the same schedule is a group that does not leave vulnerable individuals isolated. The yawn becomes a social broadcast, and your brain, inheriting this ancient circuitry, still receives the signal. Contagious yawning also appears to increase with emotional closeness. A 2011 study by Ivan Norcia and Elisabetta Palagi, published in PLOS ONE, tracked spontaneous yawning among people in natural social settings. The more emotionally intimate two people were, the more likely one would trigger a yawn in the other. Family members caught each other's yawns more than friends. Friends more than acquaintances. Acquaintances more than strangers. The contagion runs along the lines of your emotional bonds like electricity through a wire. You are not just catching a reflex. You are, in some ancient, wordless way, tuning in to the people you love. There is one more layer to this. One more piece of the yawning puzzle that researchers have recently started pulling at. It involves what happens inside the yawn itself, not just when it triggers. The stretch of the jaw during a yawn is extreme. It engages some of the largest muscles in the face and neck. It compresses and then releases the eardrum. It stretches the tissue at the back of the throat. And for a few seconds, you are in a state of near total physical reset. Tension releases. The ears pop and recalibrate. The transition between mental states, between sleep and waking, or boredom and alertness, appears to be mediated partly by this physical reset. Researchers studying yawning in military personnel and pilots found that yawning increases sharply during high-stakes transitions. Soldiers yawned more before entering potentially dangerous situations, not because they were tired, but because their bodies were shifting from one mode of readiness to another. Paratroopers yawned before jumps. The yawn is not a sign of low arousal. It appears to function as a gear shift, a moment in which the brain reconfigures itself. You yawn when you are tired and when you are nervous. You yawn when you are bored and when you are anxious. You yawn when someone you love yawns. None of these seem like the same situation, and yet the same reflex handles all of them, stretching back through your evolutionary history to some common ancestor who first opened its jaw wide in the early morning light of a world without words. The truth is that no single theory explains all of yawning. Not the oxygen theory, which failed the simplest test. Not the brain cooling theory alone, though the evidence is compelling. Not the empathy theory, though the connection is real. Yawning may be an ancient, flexible reflex that your body has recruited for multiple purposes across hundreds of millions of years of evolution. A cooling mechanism that became a social signal that became a marker of emotional connection. The machinery is older than language, older than consciousness as you experience it, older than the part of your brain that is reading these words right now. And the next time you feel that familiar, stretching pull in your jaw, that involuntary cascade of breath and pressure and warmth behind your eyes, you will know something few people ever stop to consider. You are not being lazy. You are not low on oxygen. You are running ancient code written long before your species existed in a body that still carries every version of the animal you used to be. You just yawned again, did you not?